this. So the band's rehearsing right now. That's pretty annoying.
It's okay. It's great. It's good. It's what I want.
A few months back, they soundproofed our radio, so you can't hear it.
Okay, cool.
So what's this part of it for?
So, oh wow, yeah, that's dramatic.
Yeah.
They did a good job.
They did it because everybody else around us was complaining.
This is also Cool Sounds Like. I'm Alejandra. Do you remember live music? I know, I'm sorry. That's unfair of me. I'm not here to make you sad about COVID. But actually, though, remember? There are those shows where you don't stop dancing. There are shows that you spend half the time talking with your friends in the bathroom. There are those shows where you know every word to every song. And let's be honest, there are shows that you stand around awkwardly at, drinking your beer slowly so you don't end up with nothing to do with your hands. I would love to stand around awkwardly, watching a musician that my friends like more than I do right now. But if someone told me, okay, Alejandra, tonight you get to go to one show and feel one of the feelings that live music can offer, I would want to be at a show where I felt consumed by the music. I love the feeling of the sound washing over me in waves so powerful that I can feel it on my skin. Justin Cober also loves that feeling. Actually, it's his band that taught me to love that feeling. Justin is the guitarist of the band You Do Right, and also the founder of Mile End Effects, a small Montreal-based pedal company. More than being founded on a particular date, Mile End Effects grew organically out of Justin's love for sound and playing with electronic elements in his music. For him, an important part of the process is experimentation, not just with the notes he's playing, but with the quality of the sound that comes out of his instruments. When you want to experiment with the sounds themselves, you start playing with pedals.
I guess at its basis, effects pedals are essentially anything that manipulates the sound of your instrument, electronic instruments or acoustic instruments that are mic'd using microphones. And an effects pedal, it very broadly will just change the sound, manipulate the sound in whatever way it's intended to do. I liken it a lot to having various colors on a canvas and blending things to create new colors or using primary colors on their own. It's like a flavor thing, I suppose, that can be quite inspiring. There's so much you can do with it. It's such a giant swimming pool to jump into when and if you ever get into it. Yeah, it can be kind of exciting.
I'll just turn this way down.
It's the first time I've ever heard you say that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, sound technicians rejoice. I've got this wall of amps at a reasonable volume. I hope this guitar is in tune. But let's see. Alright, live. Let's see here. So where should I start? I'll start with the distortion Psychfest fuzz, just because it's I think the most dramatic effect. But yeah, so this is what a guitar sounds like through my amp, and I've got this sound. Loud and aggressive, and I really love that sound a lot. So yeah, that's what a fuzz sounds like.
Perhaps a little less poetically than Justin's explanation, effects pedals are electronic devices that change the sound of an instrument. They do this through a process called audio signal processing, which manipulates audio signals, the electronic representations of sound waves. When you manipulate the sound waves, you alter the sound that comes out of the amplifier, the sound that the audience hears. At a show, you see the effects pedals scattered across the stage at the feet of the musicians. They're always tapping them with their feet or turning knobs. To me, they seemed like the kind of thing that would have to be produced in a factory. I had never considered equipment like this as something that could be crafted, but that's what Justin does through Myland Effects. He artfully crafts equipment.
Well, luckily we live in a time where you can go to Google and there's a wealth of information. And something like a fuzz it's been done so many times, and there's so many great communities that are willing to help somebody who's new to this world through the process. And I did have some small basis in electronics as a kid. My grandfather was very into that sort of thing, and he had built an electronic organ when he was younger, and he would kind of help me. We would take apart old home electronics. He would kind of show me how to poke around inside and explain what that was. So I kind of got a knack for this early on from him. And so yeah, that's kind of, it was an amalgamation of loving music and thinking about sound and how that, how sound can be created with electronics. And yeah, that was that. So when I was a kid, it's kind of funny. I mean, it's sort of the basis for most people that get into this. The effect was a fuzz, or like a distortion pedal. And essentially what that does is it significantly makes your incoming signal a lot louder, and it adds some fuzz and grit and clipping and distortion to that sound. It's a very simple concept. You're essentially taking the components housed in this box and pushing them to a limit that they're not necessarily intended to be pushed to. But there's so many artists will use a fuzz for a very specific effect. And I was listening to a lot of stoner rock, like Electric Wizard and Sleep and stuff, and being very inspired by that sound that they used these pedals on these recordings. And it seemed simple enough. I was good with a soldering iron, so I decided to piece together some semblance of an effect, and somehow it worked. And that rush that I got when I was a kid after making this thing, it kind of implanted itself in my heart as wanting to be able to chase different sounds that I had in my head and offer them to the world if I was so lucky to do so. But yeah, the first pedal was a fuzz. It was very ugly, and I think it broke after a while. It wasn't very well put together. The Ronald, it kind of, I've over the years collected old tape echo units, and what that is it creates an echo effect by literally pulling magnetic tape across a record head and then a repeat head, much like a cassette player would, or a tape player. But this creates an echoing effect. and they're very old and fragile now and very valuable. And I had a bunch that I really loved the sound of, specifically for the preamp, which is another thing that essentially just colors the sound of your instrument going into it, even without the echoes. And so I really came to rely on that sound, and at the time, not anymore, was touring quite a bit, and didn't really want to take these old units on tour with me because they're very old and fragile and valuable. So I just thought it might be nice to make that specific sound in a little reliable box that you can take anywhere with you. It also doesn't cost nearly as much as the original units cost. Yeah, that was kind of the precipice for that. Really just wanting it for myself to go on tour with.
Yeah, I have. This is something I made for our bassist Charles as a gift, I guess. It's one of the first circuits that I ever designed on my own. It's a fuzz pedal, just super loud, and obviously you can't see it right now, but yeah, it was kind of like my first little jump into making these pedals, and it's fun. These light up with your playing, and it's very loud. There's no controls on it. It's just full tilt like a Peterbilt bud. And yeah, this was the pedal that kind of it made me decide to start taking this more seriously. This is the Ronald preamp, and it was something that it's a personal hero of mine ended up really liking and buying a few from me. I was like, wow, I can do this. This could be a career for me. So that's kind of like I think that's the most important thing to me, I think.
And what is this one like? What does this one do?
So it's a preamp. Essentially, it will take your whatever you put into it, like a guitar or a bass, literally anything, and it will it will shape the frequency range. This one in particular, it kind of boosts a little bit of the treble frequencies, as well as the bass frequencies, and gives it a little bit more presence. It does have a bit of a volume boost as well, so you can kind of turn it on at points when you want it, you want to stand out a little more. And it's based on the preamp section of the Roland Space Echo. And yeah, I built this originally because the Roland Space Echo is very old and very valuable now, and I didn't really want to tour with it, but I needed that sound, so that's where that came about.
Can you tell me about just really basically what the different do?
Yeah. So basically, you have. I did kind of change the circuit a little bit. So you have the preamp section, which is your instrument volume, just like you'd have on the unit. You have an instrument volume, and that dictates how loud your signal is. And so that's just the preamp on its own. But I added this little toggle switch here. Get some nice ASMR sound. And it's a boost that I added to it, so that basically what a boost does, it's a clean boost. The idea is that it doesn't have an effect on the frequency range of your signal. It literally just takes what you put into it and makes it louder. this is around like 24 decibels at its highest point, and the purpose of that is it pushes the preamp into overdriving, where it like clipping, and it just I guess the best way to describe that is it pushes it further into like distortion, and yeah, the more that the preamp distorts, it compresses and gets a bit squashed in a very pleasing way, and so yeah, that's that. I think it sounds really lovely, and yeah, I think it's my favorite thing that I've made out of all of them, just because of what it means to me personally. Like, the whole John Dwyer thing, and, you know, I've now, in the past year, I sold 100 of these, like 102, and somehow they've ended up all over the world, in like Japan and Australia and the US, all over Europe, which is kind of cool. It's a nice feeling to have something that you created in a stranger's hands, that, you know, they're off doing their thing on the other side of the planet, and they're hopefully enjoying it, but that's cool.
While there is no ethical consumption under capitalism, while we work to build alternatives, support your local businesses. This episode is sponsored by Salon Freya. Freya is nested in the heart of Little Italy, in a space that has been carefully designed with love, thanks to the help of local artisans. By prioritizing sustainability, they do their part to minimize the impact of day-to-day business operations on the environment, in turn helping to keep both your hair and the planet healthy and happy. They have also partnered with Green Circle Salon, an organization that collects, recycles, repurposes, and recovers up to 95% of the resources used by the salon. They have chosen to adopt a gender-neutral pricing strategy in an effort to reduce discrimination and support gender equity. So, when you're looking for a place to correct all those at-home COVID haircuts, Salon Freya is the place to go. Now back to My Island Effects. Maybe I'm revealing how little I understand this kind of thing, but before talking to Justin, there was something about using all this equipment that I thought took away from some of the intimacy of music. I thought that putting all this distortion or all these effects in between what was going into the instrument and what was going out put distance between the musician and the audience. But understanding the care and the personal creativity that goes into creating the pedals that My Island Effects does takes away any notion that this equipment takes away the personal, the heart of the music. If anything, they add another layer of it.
Right now I'm working on my 5th effect, and these things, they take quite a bit of time from my initial, you know, some evening I'll be sitting down and a little light bulb will go off and be like, oh, that might be kind of cool. And then from that point, maybe a year later, I'll have something that is ready to put up on my website and see if people want to buy it. And so right now I have 4 effects, and the first being the Ronald preamp, and a couple of fuzz pedals and a delay pedal. Yeah, I'm working on a 5th kind of secret project right now, I guess. It's kind of like an investigation into the sounds that inspire me most, really. Like, I'll hear something on a record that I love, I'll think like, wow, that's such a cool sound, and I'll kind of like do some digging into what maybe made that sound. Or even it's a bit hard to explain, but even certain like visual aspects will inspire me, and I'll think like, wow, that looks really great, and kind of incorporate that into the visual aesthetic of some of my things. I'm not an electrical engineer by any means, so a lot of it is just reading about electrical concepts and like how, you know, electrons flow in a certain way, and how they will manipulate sound. And so it involves a lot of reading of technical data and eventually kind of creating a schematic based sometimes based on very well-founded principles that it's kind of could be like even like a paint by numbers type situation where somebody on some message board will have an idea and it kind of clicks and you're like, okay, so that's how they got that sound, and then you apply it to your own sort of project, and yeah, from there there's just like a lot of, I guess, engineering that goes into it that I don't really have a background into, which is probably why it takes me a year to make these things, because I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants and learning as I go along. But it's fun that way. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's like getting trapped in a library on a stormy night, like the page master, and suddenly next time I look at the clock, it's 6 a.m. and I have to go to work, and I've spent all night just absorbing as much information as I possibly can and reading and like observing old technical data and schematics and things. And, it's not the healthiest lifestyle, I think, but it's very rewarding in that sense.
And this one is kind of new, right?
Yeah, this is the motherfucker equals repeater. This is, I spent the past year really diving into how to simulate like malfunctioning tape machines, and it's a delay pedal. It's an echo, so it will take what you put into it and create an echo. You know, as if you were standing on the edge of a lake and there's hills around you and you yell and you hear the echoes bounce back. That is created electronically here. And my goal with this was to like faithfully recreate the sound of like magnetic tape being pushed across tape recorder heads. And there's all sorts of like unstable, like mechanical nuances that happen when that, sometimes as a machine gets older, you have what's called a capstan motor, and the motor is, it's spinning, but it's pushing the tape across the tape heads, and sometimes the motor will like fluctuate in speed, so you get these wobbling effects. Sometimes the magnetic tape will have some crinkles in it because it's, it gets degraded, and that creates sort of this fluttering pitch. And I mean, if you've ever listened to an old cassette tape that has been played too many times, you'll understand what that sound is. It's very like low fidelity and wobbly. I really love that as an effect. It's just very haunting in a way, and it's at the basis of a lot of my favorite recordings. A lot of ambient artists will use tape as an effect, and so yeah, I made this hoping to recreate that sound without actually using broken tape machines, because they tend to be unreliable. And yeah, so that was like a real undertaking, I guess, trying to understand how to recreate that electronically, using like digital signal processing and essentially ones and zeros to create something that's a very tactile and organic medium. And motherfucker repeater, let's see if I can get a usable sound out of this thing. This is also like one of my favorite sounds, just this wobbly tape. It's also, you'll be able to hear. Go like. You can make it really, really wobbly, as if you've got like a completely messed messed up tape machine.
Can I hear that?
Yeah, I can just like. Yeah, it's just wobbly and haunting. Yeah.
Yeah. To use the lake metaphor that you were using before, it's almost like it seems compared to like what the first thing you showed me on this effect and then to like later with making it the most wobbly, it almost feels like you're sending it across a bigger lake, right? Like it's coming back, like it takes longer and it's more,
Yeah.
it's like a bigger distortion.
There's more. Yeah, that's basically it. It's just like this very distant sound over a hill that has got a lot of air that has been sitting in between it and your ears. But yeah, so that's essentially that.
For someone who isn't a musician myself, just being coordinated enough to sing and follow a chord progression at the same time seems impressive. So adding this whole other layer to the process, turning knobs to the right setting and remembering when you want an effect on and when you don't, seems impossible. Justin did agree that it's a bit like rubbing your stomach and tapping your head at the same time. But, he added, after time, it comes as second nature. If these effects are extensions of the instrument, and the instruments are just extensions of the musicians themselves, then there really is no drawing lines between them. On the Mile End Effects website, there's a really impressive list of bands and musicians that use Justin's pedals. Some names that stuck out to me are Big Brave, Ott, Bestard Lakes, and Corridor. To me, that's an impressive list, not just because those are all great bands, but because of the diversity of styles between them. Justin told me that John Dwyer leaves the Ronald on the whole time and puts his vocals through it, but Justin uses that pedal very differently. There are so many ways that musicians can use these effects. Justin called them tools to inspire, just like people using color differently to paint with. He said that you can use these effects to expand into different territories of your creative potential. Talking to Justin, it was clear just how thrilled he is to have the opportunity to be a part of so many different musicians' creative processes.
The support that's been gifted to me has like exceeded my initial expectations. It kind of went from trying to make a little bit of extra income every month to be able to feed myself and pay my rent, to having now sent hundreds of pedals all over the world and like having just a very, very positive and supportive response from all these people that would otherwise, they have no reason to believe in someone like me. I mean, I'm just some guy who likes to make sound. And yeah, so it's kind of shocked me a little bit that like what this has become. And it's still very humble. I won't for one second tell you otherwise, but it has far exceeded my expectations. Yeah, it's starting to move a little bit faster, which is something that I'm still, just shocked by and eternally grateful for, and still on this roller coaster of self-doubt versus maybe overconfidence. But yeah, it's shocked me. I think that's the best way to describe that response. It's been very wonderful, very positive. I don't know where I fit in anywhere there, because there's, for whatever reason, Montreal cultivates something very, very special in terms of music, and I've been lucky enough to be a part of various music communities here. And so I guess my hope is that in some small way it contributes to the inspiration that's behind some of the in my mind, most profoundly beautiful and heartfelt music that I've heard. I mean, a big part of the reason why I'm in Montreal to begin with is because of the music that has historically come out of this place. And I've had the opportunity of having my pedals in the hands of a lot of Montreal artists that I would very much consider to be my heroes. For me to stand in the background a little bit and offer some tools to people to kind of go forth and prosper with and just create something is how I would hope to fit into all this. I think it's just solidified my faith in music in this city, because I've been able to work with so many wonderful artists that I would have never considered having the opportunity to work with. So it just puts into perspective how small but how mighty the Montreal music communities can be, and to see my effects on stages in Montreal is always very heartwarming. But no, it's just solidified my belief that there is something very, very special here, and I'm thrilled to be a part of it in some way.
As much as Myland Effects is its own endeavor, it's impossible to separate it completely from Justin's own music, most notably through his band You Do Right. You Do Right is loud. It's the kind of loud that I was talking about at the beginning of this episode, that pushes its sound over you like a wave and makes you feel like your eyeballs are shaking. It's a love for this kind of music that inspired Justin to make the kinds of effects that he does. He wants people to experience sound viscerally, the kind of music that hints at other ways of knowing.
I think the music that I create very heavily inspires the effects that I create. And I think they kind of go hand in hand in the sense that, like, in the spirit of exploration and experimentation, it's that sits at the core of my endeavors, both musically and with my Myland Effects.
While we were talking, Justin mentioned a few different secret projects that he was working on that I promised I wouldn't reveal here. But just the fact that he has these secrets, little parcels of mystery that are connected to his music and to his pedals, but also just work to add a little bit more magic into the city, says so much about how he approaches Myland Effects. Like little messages in little bottles, he sends these pedals out into the world as ways that other musicians can add some magic to their sounds.
As an Anglophone in Montreal, my opportunities have been somewhat limited, and for very good reason. I won't for one second doubt that. Aside from, absolutely dreaming to be a self-sustained musician, I also just want to do something that I'm very passionate about with my life. And I've said this before, I want to create a life that I feel like I don't have to escape from. I felt, hey, maybe somebody would like to purchase these pedals, and if I sold enough, maybe I could quit my job schlepping it up at the vegan sausage factory that I work at now. It was born out of this idea of, like, what else am I gonna do? I'm not a tremendously well-educated person, at least not in the world of academia. Kind of it's all I can really picture for myself, is playing music and making the tools for other people to play music.
Also Cool Sounds Like is produced and edited by me, Alejandra, in collaboration with Also Cool Magazine. Music by Oren Ratowski, artwork by Malaika Storga. Additional music for this episode was Marche Part 3 featuring Jasmine Trails by You Do Right. Find them on Bandcamp. Check out the magazine at alsocoolmag.com or on Instagram at alsocoolmag. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other cool places you like to listen.